Today, we are diving deep into one fascinating little molecule. It's a single peptide that your body actually makes itself, and studies show it can do some pretty incredible things, like improve your skin, strengthen your hair, and seriously speed up your recovery time. It's called GHK-Cu, and it all comes down to restoring a powerful signal that your body unfortunately loses over time. So let's start with a question to kind of reframe how we think about aging. We tend to see things like wrinkles or thinning hair or just not bouncing back from the gym as fast. We see them all as separate issues, right? Each one has its own special cream or supplement. But what if they're not separate problems at all? What if instead they're all just symptoms of three interconnected systems that are all declining at the very same time? According to Dr. Jones, this decline really shows up in three big ways. Your collagen production just tanks. Your hair follicles get weaker, and your body's amazing ability to repair itself just slows way down. But here's the thing. Your body actually has a built-in master regulator for these exact systems. It's this one peptide that you have tons of when you're young, but it just kind of fades away as the years go by. And that peptide is GHK-Cu. The easiest way to think about it is like your body's own master signal for regeneration. It's literally the instruction that's telling your cells, hey, go repair that tissue, build more collagen, support those hair follicles. And check this out. When you're 20, you're walking around with about 200 nanograms per milliliter of GHK-Cu in your system. Pretty good. But by the time you're 60, that level plummets to just 80. That's a staggering 60% drop. And this loss of that key signal is a huge reason why all those systems start to break down. And it's exactly why researchers are so interested in figuring out how to restore it. So you're probably wondering, how can one little peptide do so much? Well, its power really comes from four foundational jobs it does in the body. And once you get these four pillars, you'll see exactly why its effects are so widespread. So the first pillar is anti-inflammation. And we're not just talking about, calming down a sore muscle. GHK-Cu helps reduce that chronic, low-grade inflammation all over your body. It dials down these signals like TNF-alpha and IL-6. And it's this systemic inflammation, this constant fire, that's a root cause of aging that just wrecks skin and slows down all repair. Second, it basically supercharges your body's own antioxidant defenses. But here's the really cool part. It doesn't just add more antioxidants from the outside. No, it signals your body to ramp up production of its own heavy hitters, like glutathione and superoxide dismutase, or SOD. So it's protecting your cells from damage from the inside out. Okay, pillar 3. This is where the magic of true regeneration really kicks in: stem cell activation. The research shows GHK-Cu basically flips the switch on your body's own stem cells. It's telling your body, hey, it's time to make some new healthy cells to replace the old ones. And you can see this process really clearly in how it revitalizes hair follicles. And finally, pillar 4, wound healing and repair. Your body naturally rushes GHK-Cu to an injury. Why? Because it helps build new blood vessels to get nutrients to the area, and it helps synthesize the connective tissue to patch things up. And remember, this doesn't just mean a cut on your finger. It's also happening with the micro damage that your muscles get every single time you train. So you take those four powerful mechanisms, anti-inflammation, antioxidant defense, stem cells, and repair, and they translate directly into the three big benefits that people are really after: better skin, healthier hair, and way faster recovery. So for skin, GHK-Cu is the signal telling your body to crank out more type 1 collagen for structure and more elastin for that youthful bounce. But you have to remember, the peptide is just the signal man. It's not the building material. For the best results, you need to supply the building blocks, like collagen and vitamin C. And you have to protect your investment with things like UV protection and good sleep. It's a whole system. Now for hair, those exact same mechanisms are at work. GHK-Cu is helping create new follicle stem cells, it's extending that active growth phase, and it's making the follicle itself stronger. But you gotta be patient with this one. Because of how hair growth cycles work, users report it can take a solid 3 to 6 months to really see a difference, and it seems to work best as a preventative measure. And for recovery, it is absolutely critical to understand this. GHK-Cu is not a muscle builder like some other peptides. It is a muscle repair supporter. Think of it that way. By knocking down that post-workout inflammation and speeding up the healing of all that microdamage we talked about, it lets you bounce back faster so you can train harder and more often. Okay, so that's the science. Let's get practical. How do people actually use GHK-Cu? Well, if we pull together the advice from our sources, we get a really clear picture of what a typical protocol looks like. When you look at dosing, you'll see the recommendations range from about 1.5 all the way up to 5 milligrams a day. And that's not a contradiction. It just shows that people often start on the lower end and then slowly increase their dose to find that sweet spot that works best for them. And please don't forget the peptide is the signal. It is not the raw material. You have to support it with the right nutrients. Vitamin C is absolutely essential for making collagen. Enough protein is a must. But most importantly, the sources are really clear on this. You should supplement with zinc to make sure that the copper from the peptide gets processed correctly and doesn't build up in your system. And a little reality check, this is not a quick fix. Users usually start noticing the first little changes, maybe better skin texture or their nails growing faster, in about 4 to 8 weeks. But those deeper, more significant results for hair and collagen, that takes 2 to 3 months of really consistent use. People typically cycle it for several months at a time. Now, before we finish up, we have to talk about the single biggest complaint that users have. The subcutaneous injection can, well, it can sting. A lot. Because it's a copper peptide, it can cause a burning sensation. But thankfully, there is a simple, really elegant solution. The key is just simple dilution. It sounds complicated, but it's not. After you reconstitute the GHK Cu like you normally would, you just transfer that solution into a bigger sterile vial. Then you add more bacteriostatic water to it. You're just watering it down. The only catch is you have to do a little math to recalculate your dose, since you'll now need to draw more liquid to get the same amount of the peptide. And this really works. As the peptide professor puts it, this simple step makes the solution less concentrated, which means that burning sensation is going to be much, much less. Seriously, according to users, this one trick is a total game changer, and it makes using it consistently totally pain-free. So, let's wrap this all up. Here's the big takeaway. GHK Cu is not magic. You can't just inject this and get away with a bad diet or skipping the gym. What it does is restore a critical signal your body loses with age. And by doing that, it amplifies the results from all the hard work you're already doing, eating right, training hard, and getting good sleep. And that kind of leaves us with a final, really interesting thought. What if the future of anti-aging isn't about adding a bunch of new and foreign substances into our bodies, but it's actually about just restoring our own natural blueprint for how to regenerate? It's a pretty powerful idea to think about. Thanks for tuning in.